So what have we learned from the Detroit Pistons 0-3 start this season? I want to dive into that in this video. But before I do, this video is brought to you by Bridges and Stone's Family and Relationship Care. You know, there are times in my life that I look back on and wonder why I did not reach out for support. I recognized how much I normalized struggling on my own in silence when I didn't have to. If I was an athlete dealing with an injury, I would have sought out a trainer or a doctor. If I couldn't figure out a set play or settle teammate disputes or my role on the team, I would have sought out an assistant coach for support. Well, Bridges and Stones is a place to find well-trained supportive coaching for your life. Don't struggle alone. Contact Bridges and Stones today for a free consultation and get your life back on track. Remember, none of us make it alone. The link is in the description box below. If there's one thing that we have learned from the Detroit Pistons 0-3 start, it's that I was right. It's that I was right. Look, I do enjoy being right. It is kind of fun at times. I could be a bit facetious with this, sarcastic and all. But it is to say that I was kind of right. Look back at my video on what to expect of the Detroit Pistons this season. What were the adjustments that they needed to make? What were going to be the different emphasis for this team this season? My outlook for what Jaden Ivey was going to look like this year. My projection about Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham becoming an incredibly dynamic backcourt duo. I called all these things out months ago. But it's to say that if there's one thing that we could take away, and let's be more specific here, not just laugh and jokes. Jaden Ivey is turning into one hell of a player. He has, I'm going to be honest with you. You know how they say, pressure breaks pipes, but it makes diamonds. Right? It makes diamonds. And Jaden Ivey is becoming a diamond before our eyes. And if I'm honest with you, I think the pressure from last season, not just the losing, but also being in the doghouse for a new coach, a coach that's been he's gotten to the NBA Finals. I was almost going to say a champion, but he's been to the NBA Finals. So he came with pedigree, clout, a lot of sway, a lot of respect that was due him. And he found himself on the outs. And I can only imagine as an athlete what that must have felt like. Not all of a sudden, not starting any longer, being demoted to the bench, being uncertain of your playing time after being a high draft pick. People forget Jaden Ivey was he was considered to potentially be a number one pick candidate with Paolo Banchero and Chet Holmgren and Jabari Smith Jr. He was looked at like, hey, could this guy be in the mix for the number one pick in the draft? And now he went from starting to coming off the bench. Now, I also understand that in the rookie year, he was statistically, of players who were getting, I think, over 30 minutes a game, he was the worst player in the NBA. Now, I know a lot of that was contextual. It's the guys that you're playing alongside of and all the injuries and being on a very young team, being in a very new role. Remember, he had never played point guard before. He was always a shooting guard. He was always playing on the wing and not really as a primary facilitator. And all of a sudden, this is where he was. He was thrust into this role. And so there was going to be growing pains and a learning curve. But as a result of the front office's decisions to move on from Dwayne Casey, which I thought they should have kept around, they brought in Monty Williams, and all of a sudden he's coming off the bench. That was a really, really hard situation for him last year. And yet, I think that pressure has helped prepare him for who he is today. He doesn't necessarily have to be convinced to play defense anymore. He's not willing to risk going back into a doghouse. He doesn't have to be convinced to take care of that ball, to simplify his shot package. He's already been in a doghouse. You see, there's growing pains. And I think a lot of times as fans, we don't necessarily always want to see the growing pains. We want things to happen immediately. But these things should give us a lot of encouragement that these players, despite it all, are headed in the right direction. So at first I want to shout out Jaden Ivey. He's having a hell of a start to his 24-25 campaign. He's looking to get paid in terms of being extended this offseason. And I think he's doing a phenomenal job playing on ball as a primary point of attack defender. And I think that he's showing that he can be a really dynamic backcourt mate alongside of Cade Cunningham. And if you watch this recent game against the Boston Celtics, they're actually finally beginning to play off each other, meaning that you actually see them passing to one another within these offensive sets. Not just one standing in a corner and letting the other one just go to work, but they're actually creating for each other somewhat. And I want to see more of that. I want to see a whole lot more of that, but I think it's going to continue to build with time. The next thing that I want to point out is that, hey, you know what? Shout out to the front office. Who knew? Bringing in shooters helps. Michael Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr., these two have done a phenomenal job of bringing perimeter spacing and shooting to this team. Tobias Harris as well. And if I'm honest with you, and I'm going to get to Tobias Harris in a little bit, I think he's underutilized. But I think some of that's also the young, dynamic duo in the backcourt and Jaden Ivey figuring out how to utilize him more, and the coaching staff integrating him more, whether it's some pick and rolls, pick and pops, slips to the basket, just getting him involved more, backdoor cuts, quick post ups, things like that. Even playing more with that second unit so that he could be a primary scoring option, and really get himself going. But it's to say that the shooting has been phenomenal. Now, I've also said that they've been a bit of shot chucking. I mean, they do not hesitate. I mean, between Fontecchio, Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr., I mean, they just be chucking, boy. And they're not necessarily known for being able to get to the rack, so I understand that's their contribution. But at the same time, I would love for them to be able to distinguish a good look and a great look, and sometimes pass up a good look for a great look, especially if they can have an opportunity to give the ball back to a Jaden Ivey, Cade Cunningham, or a Tobias Harris and get them going, which I saw there was a few opportunities missed throughout these games. The other thing I wanted to get to is Tobias Harris. Man, I just love his presence on the court as a professional, as a veteran. Man, he just has this calming effect that I think you can see is almost pungent with Ivy and Cade and even Duran, where they know they have somebody who knows what to do, who understands what needs to be done and is always in the right place. He's bailing them out just by being in the right place many times, because he has a little bit of extra spacing for them, or that little extra threat of somebody who will dive in behind a straight line drive, or who might relocate to an open corner or open wing for the kick out that the defense has to be accountable to. These are the little things that may not seem like a big deal, but they can really be the difference between taking a tough shot and getting a good shot, right? Getting a good shot or getting a great shot, right? And those differences have a cumulative effect. Now, I think I also want to shout out JB Bickerstaff. God, does this team look professional? I mean, what a far cry from last season. This team looks like they are finally playing the right way, right? They're playing hard-nosed defense. They're giving great effort, consistently. And you can tell that they have a certain faith in themselves that they didn't necessarily show last season. Cade and Ivy are not hesitating. None of the guys are hesitating. They are playing within very clear roles. And so this team just looks functional. It looks competent, and that is a huge step forward. Now, I will say this is a very competitive NBA right now, and so whether that measures out into wins and losses, I think you need to pay attention and actually watch the games more than anything to really appreciate the progress, not just jump in and watch a highlight and look at the stats and then give a prognosis. Watch the game. These are really good games that the Detroit Pistons are playing. Now, I do want to get into some things that are kind of critiques, and I talked about one of them earlier, the shot chucking. Look, Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr., you don't have to shoot it every time. Not every single time. Damn, like, for real. Hold it one time, pump fake and pass, and then cut behind it. Stop shot chucking. And Cade Cunningham, the turnovers, God, come on, man, come on now, come on, reel it in. We need you. The scoring looks beautiful. It looks, man, we're seeing your bag and getting to your spots, and great job. But rein in that turnovers, rein in the little mishandles and really bad decisions for passes. I watched against the Celtics. He was posting up Peyton Pritchard in the first quarter, and he spun into the paint, and he's fading. He's only maybe like 8, 10 feet from the basket. That's more within his shot package to be able to knock that down. And he has clearance. He spins out of it, and he is just, it's right there. But he's zoomed in, locked in on getting the ball to Isaiah Stewart, who was semi-open, a little bit closer, but Cade was also open. But he just fires this ball. I mean, just like 80 miles an hour at Stewart, who already has kind of like, a little bit hands of stone. I'm not gonna say hands of stone. He's not Bismack Biyombo, but he's not the most soft-handed big man. And I'm like, come on, like you gotta shore those things up. Those are the little moments that's just like there's a lot to be gained in a little bit more precision. But I think that's gonna come as the season goes on and continuity builds and expectations and things of that nature. I will also say that I want to see Cade Cunningham working more off the ball when he doesn't have the ball. Like when he doesn't have the ball, he just kind of stands there and he's just kind of, melandering around, just watching the game. No, go set a screen for somebody. Go back door, set a screen and slip it. Set a screen for Ivy, right? Hey, recognize where the mismatch is and set it up. Give a good post entry pass. Let's get Dern involved more in the post when he's got somebody smaller on him, or somebody who's not physically as capable as this Celtics lineup was not. Like there should have been a bunch of little post up opportunities, but there just wasn't. So I want to see Cade do more off the ball, staying involved even when he doesn't have the ball to get to the basket. And then probably the last thing that I want to point out is I love Ron Holland. I know he's learning, he's growing, but I think something that could be recognized, and I think I might do a video on this as well, that he is not Ausar Thompson, for better and for worse. And I'll just point a little bit to what I'm going to do the video on, is that he doesn't have the defensive IQ that Ausar Thompson has. He just doesn't. He just doesn't. He gives the effort. He has the great size, athleticism, the motor on the perimeter. But he's still a rookie. He still gets flustered a little bit. We've already seen him get a technical foul. And he kind of gets thrown off at times, and he gets a little lost. But on the other side, he's also not Ausar Thompson in that his shot looks far more down the road in terms of being a potential weapon than Ausar Thompson's. Now, I think by the end of the season, Ausar Thompson looked like, okay, he might get to where we see Ron Holland at right now, which is he might be able to shoot 33% from the three-point line, right? Ron Holland's jump shot looks fluid. It looks smooth. It looks compact. It looks confident. And it looks like he's growing into that confidence in taking that shot. It's really stepping into it. And I wouldn't be shocked if 25 games in, he's averaging taking 2 to 3 3-pointers a game, because he's such a threat to be able to drive past the defender to the basket that I think they're going to leave him open intentionally, and he's going to start taking advantage of that. But all in all, I'm not mad at this start. I didn't necessarily see a game where they should have won to be disappointed at. They've been in every game, and I can appreciate just how this team is fighting and staying in the game, really showing that character that the Detroit Pistons are known for. And so I'm excited about the start, even if a little disappointed that they haven't gotten a win yet, but I'm still here for it. But as always, I want to know what you all think. If you enjoyed the video, if you agree with what I was sharing, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Even if you don't agree, like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. Share the video in your group chats. Get at me in the comment section, and I'm going to get back at y'all there. Peace.